Moving into our next story of the day, we got Ron DeSantis declaring state of emergency, calls for activation on Florida National Guard due to influx of unauthorized aliens. So as we said in the first segment, Joe Biden's going to visit El Paso. He's saying that he's putting in immigration reform that's going to help things. It's going to make things a little bit better, but it's not going to fix the problem completely. And this whole problem has now affected other states. Obviously, Arizona with Doug Ducey. You got Texas with Governor Greg Abbott. You got Florida with Ron DeSantis here, all being affected. And all three states have been chauffeuring these illegal immigrants to the interior of those other states, the sanctuary cities. And now those sanctuary cities are also losing their crap as well on Joe Biden. Well, here, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis has declared a state of emergency related to the arrival of unauthorized aliens in Florida. The executive order calls for activating the National Guard, specifically the Florida National Guard, as necessary to handle the emergency. Quote, because of the foregoing conditions, I hereby find the immigration of authorized aliens to the state of Florida is likely to constitute a majority disaster. I therefore declare that a state of emergency exists in the state of California, the executive order declares. I order that Adjutant General to activate the National Guard as needed to deal with this emergency. Now, it's very similar. I believe it was Governor Greg Abbott of Texas actually called on the Texas Constitution to basically implement the military, the National Guard, in effect, of the state of Texas to help with what's going on at the southern border. It helps basically put certain assets at the border that basically the federal government wouldn't allow. It's a step further in what states are doing to basically handle this border crisis, in the same way that it was either Arizona or Texas was putting those containers that you would see on trucks along the border to help alleviate the issue of what's going on down there. And then you literally had the White House say that you have to remove those because it's on federal land. And then you had the environmentalists say that it was ruining the environment to put those there and that they had to remove them because, again, it's on federal territory. You're not allowed to do that as a state. You're going to have to basically get rid of it and then just allow whatever happens to happen. All the while, the messaging of the White House was, oh, well, we'll help you build what's down there. We're going to take care of you. We're willing to work with you. Folks, that was like 2 years ago. They haven't heard a peep from the White House with what's going on down there in Arizona and Texas. I forget which state was building this. So that's the shenanigans going on. And basically the state was like, we're not removing it. Like, we're going to keep it there until you guys keep your end of the bargain and actually build something like you said you're going to build. But they can't build it, remember? Because the whole Nancy Pelosi thing between Trump was, well, we can't call it a wall. It's a fence, and fences don't work. Fence are irrelevant. They don't do anything. So they can't go with this whole narrative of like, oh, we're going to build a wall after you just spent 4 years calling the guy that was building a wall a racist and all these other things. The party was racist. How you're treating illegal immigrants is terrible. It's deplorable, right? You had AOC going down there taking photos and saying, well, they're drinking out of toilets when the faucet was linked to the toilet and we have the most drinkable water that you've ever seen on the face of the planet. Like the water that comes out of your faucet also goes in the toilet, but they were linked together, and she's making it seem like they're drinking out of toilets. So you don't see AOC down there fabricating photos anymore. It's amazing how that works out, right? It's amazing as if we don't have the memory and the cognitive brain span to actually go back a few years and look at that idiot going to the border and making up actual photos of her standing in front of a chain link fence in the middle of a parking lot that there's nobody there. But nobody brings that up anymore. Because again, the news cycle just switches like that. The move comes as a massive number of immigrants continue to inundate America's southern border. U.S. Customs Border Protection reports massive numbers of Southwest land border encounters month after month. Florida has been experiencing immigrants arriving by water. During the past 24 hours, Border Patrol agents and LE partners responded to 5 migrant landings and encountered 90 Cuban migrants in the Florida Keys. The migrants arrived on rustic vessels, and residents notified local authorities. Speaking of residences, the ranchers in Texas and Arizona, if there are some, as far as population-wise in Arizona that kind of correlate to Texas as well, they're seeing like hundreds of dead bodies on their property every single year. I would be curious to see what the actual update is on this, because when we reported on that was like a year and a half ago, where they would see like 1 or 2 every now and then. They're seeing like hundreds on their property every single year now, and the government's not even helping them with it. Yeah, they'll figure it out, just leave them there. It's fine. No big deal. So that's what's going on in Texas. Stuff is wild, you guys. It is so wild what gets underreported from these major news sites. That's why you got to hit that like and subscribe button and make sure that bell notification's on, because we're giving you all the details here on the Bald with Brad show. We're going to make sure you're up to date. Well, you got a national park here, which is out to the west of Key West, Florida, was recently closed to public access because immigrants were arriving there. but is slated to reopen January 8th. Isn't that just amazing how they're just closing our national parks that we pay federal taxpayer dollars to be able to utilize, but now the immigrants are actually utilizing it themselves? We can't bat an eye over that, folks. Nothing to see here, guys. In the same way Joe Biden going to El Paso, it's all clean miraculously. You've never seen El Paso any cleaner, folks. You literally got people probably swabbing the freaking poop decks out there in terms of cleaning the dirt, sifting it, making sure there's no needles or any debris there, make sure Joe Biden doesn't step in any human feces. It's going to be the cleanest area you've ever seen in your entire life because the president's showing up. And then when the president shows up, all of a sudden things got to look good. I hope you enjoyed that clip from the Bald Brad Show. If you did, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date on all our future content.